Okay. Now there's a little bit of navigation that goes along with this training today. So I think I have it down, but bear with me because there's it depends on what devices you're on and your comfort level with some of this. So the first thing I am going to do is show you how to, can I just see by a show of hands or a thumbs up if you guys are on a computer like your MacBook? Okay. Brenda, are you on an iPad?
No, I'm on my personal laptop. It's not a MacBook though. Okay.
That'll still work. Okay, perfect. It's a little bit different when you're doing a split screen on a MacBook as opposed to the iPad. Now, how many of you, show me by your hands, if you have a second device that you're going to be working with as well tonight? Okay. So that's helpful. So when we get to the part where you're going to sign into Nearpod, you're going to sign in on that second device and you'll be Zooming with us here on your computer that you're on right now. For those of you that are going to be not using a second device, I want to show you how to do a split screen. Now this is going to be on the MacBook. If you're on your own personal one, hopefully you know how to do a split screen. If not, we can probably support you through that. So what I need you to do is, if you look up here, you guys, I'm assuming, oh, can you guys all see this, my screen, my Nearpod introduction screen? Okay. Usually there's like a little green line around it and there isn't for some reason. Okay. So you see up here at the top, I have these different tabs. Now I'm in Chrome right now. So if you're in Safari, it will look just a little bit different. But here's what I want you to do is, like right now I'm on this Nearpod one. I want you to, do you have is your browser open? Do you have access to your browser? Okay, so I want you to do is come up and click on the plus right here because we're going to add a new tab. So go ahead and click on the plus and you'll get some kind of new tab option here. Now, if you're in Safari, it's like way over on the right-hand side, there's like a little gray plus sign. So if you're in Safari, you're going to want to go over there to create this new tab for yourself. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to click and hold on this tab and you're going to go straight down. We're detaching it from this window that we have. So I'm going to hold this tab here. I'm just going to pull it straight down. So when I pull it straight down, it detaches from my other window here. Give me a thumbs up if you were able to do that. Okay. Megan, are you working on it? Okay. So technically what I did, whoops, come back here, is I created this new tab here. And then I'm going to grab it and just pull it down off of this window here. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to do a split screen. So on this new tab that I have here that's detached, on the MacBook, I'm going to hover over this green dot in the top left, and I'm going to choose tile window to the right screen. I click on that, it's going to separate that out. And then I'm just going to click on this guy on this side to open this up. So I should have a split screen. Kim, do you have a split screen?
I'm using two screens, so I'm
okay. So you're good?
Yeah.
Okay, Cindy?
I'm using, yeah, sorry, frog. I'm using
I have my own laptop.
So I'm good.
Gotcha. Is there anybody that is not able to do a split screen or you have a second screen? Awesome. Okay, now in this new tab up here, what I want you to do is go up and I want you to type in the address join, oops, not Joni. Hold on, my thing's on the way here. Okay. Join.nearpod.com. Join.nearpod.com. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up a code here for you. So right here is your code. So go ahead and type that in, 5FPZ9, and then join.
What was the join Nearpod?
Join.nearpod.com. And then it should ask you to type in your name. Does it do that? Excellent. Okay. And then join. I'm already in it on another screen here, so it's not going to do that for me. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I want to make sure everyone's in the Nearpod because this is how I'm going to be taking attendance. So if you have any troubles, raise your hand or type it in the chat. I've got Carrie here with me. Sorry, Carrie, I didn't even introduce you. She's my wingman as usually, or I am her wingman, depending on the day. But she's going to manage the chat for us and kind of watch you guys for any type of questions that you might have. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close out of my student view right here because I want to go full screen for you guys. And I'm going to take you through some navigation stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off on my end. So I'm not going to be seeing your beautiful faces right now. So Carrie, if you would just monitor for me, that would be fantastic. I've just got so much happening here. It's hard for me to do all of it. So here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. All right. Okay. So this is going to be a really broad and detailed overview of Nearpod. Some of this stuff, if you've used it before, you're going to go, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But some of you as well may not know some of the features. So hopefully we can kind of cover everything here today. So what I want you to notice first is this is the teacher view that you're looking at right now. And on your second screen, you have the student view. Now it's going to look very similar right now because this is just a title slide, but there's a few differences and I want to show you what some of this navigation looks like here. So up here on the left-hand side is my session code. And if I need to show this to students again, I can just click on this icon right here and it will pop that right back up for my students. And then I just close it again when I don't need it anymore. Over here at the right, this right here, this S allows me to go into student view. So if I want to, if I'm making my, my Nearpod and I want to see what it looks like on the student side, or if I just want to quickly go in and see what my students are, their view looks like, I can switch over to this view. Or if I'm projecting and I want them to see the student view as well. So you can toggle back and forth right here. And then this right here is an add activity button. And there's a few things that you can kind of add on the fly. We're not going to go over this right now. This will be covered later, but I'm just kind of showing you the navigation of this slide here. So that's the add activity. Now down here at the bottom left is your enrollment. And so if I click on this, I can see the students that are in my class right now. Okay, so I can see everybody here. Now, if there's a red dot next to it, that could mean that either someone's having internet glitches. It doesn't necessarily mean that a student's up to no good, but it might mean that they're away from the Nearpod. And so this is normally green when everybody's in and ready to go. Now, I do know that the person that's in red told me they're going to be jumping back and forth, and so that's perfectly understandable. But I want you to know what that green and red means right there, just to kind of help you out with the pacing of your lessons. If you see that there's some reds popping up, then you might want to see what's going on, and you can just click in here and you can check and see, and then check on those students if you need to. Down here at the very bottom tells me what slide I'm on of all of my slides, and I can click right here and quickly go to a different slide if I wanted to. And then over here on the far right is the hiding student names. And so this is really nice to have if you are going to be projecting and the students will be seeing the teacher screen and you're looking at specific student answers and you don't want anybody to know what the student names are, because sometimes that inhibits students from wanting to participate. So you can hide that student names. That's one of the options that you have there as well. Okay. So our learning objectives today is that you're going to really participate as a student today. It's really important to understand what that student experience is, so that when you're designing your lessons, you have that in the back of your head. And also that you'll understand how it's managed from the teacher's perspective. We're not going to be designing lessons and adding things, but you're going to see how you can manage it from the teacher side. And then this aligns with our TPEP criterion 2, demonstrating effective teacher practices. And 3, recognizing individual student learning needs and developing those strategies to address them. And 6, which is using multiple student data elements to modify instruction and improve student learning. Okay, so this is a really neat tool right here, and I encourage you to take notes during your session. I'm going to show you how to do this. And let me pop over to my student view. So you're going to want to be, oops, well, that's not very nice. I have to go back and get back into my student view. So bear with me 1 second. Join.nearpod.com. and 5FPZ9. Okay, so let me join back in. So you'll notice when I join back in, so if a student comes in late and they have to get that join code really quick, it's going to take them right to the slide that you're automatically on, which is kind of nice. Okay, so this is my student view. So I want you guys to be on that right side of your screen or on your second device. And I'm going to show you how to use this note-taking tool. So if I come right over here and I hover over this little icon, it turns blue and I'm going to click on that. Now this is giving me the option that any notes that I take on each of these slides can either be sent to my email, saved to my drive, or OneDrive if you use it, but we don't use it in our district. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to click on send via email because it's pretty quick. So if you guys want to go ahead and do that, you can do that as well. I'm just going to type in my email real quick, and then I hit send. So what you'll notice is right now it's showing me this slide 4 that we're on here, and I can start typing notes in here. And then when the teacher goes to the next slide, if you click on the notes icon, it'll show slide 5 here, and you can take notes on this as well. Now, go ahead and take notes if you want to practice it, but you certainly don't have to sit there and feverishly type things, I'm saying, because this is recorded. But it is a nice feature because when you take your notes, as soon as the session is ended, you're going to receive a copy of everything. So you're going to get the Nearpod plus all of the notes inside of it. So this is a really good feature to use with students. It kind of provides them as a sort of study guide. So it has the content that the teacher wants them to know and understand. and also their notes as well. I would advise probably not enabling this feature for K2 because they're not really at the point where they're taking notes yet, and it could just kind of be a distraction. So the notes taking option is available for you to turn on or off in your teacher settings, which we will look at much later on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just click on this little icon to pop that back. And I'm gonna go back into the teacher view right here. Okay. Okay, so I just kind of like to start with some kind of a quote, and this is kind of a neat, this is just from Nearpod, from their professional services. But you know, great teaching is a result of the teacher. And all the efforts that you guys are making, like being here today and trying to learn a new platform and trying to learn how to deliver engaging material to our students, regardless of what environment we're in, it's good teaching. And you're going to learn how to use Nearpod today as both synchronous and asynchronous ways to deliver your instruction. And we're going to incorporate some things that you already have. So it's not just like everything's new. You'll be able to bring in some of the materials that you've already created yourself. Okay, so now this first feature that I am going to show you here is a poll feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to kind of just get a feel for the audience. So from your student view, I want you to look at your student view and take a moment here and just answer the question by clicking on which one matches how you're feeling, and then make sure that you click that blue submit button so that your answers populate my screen. And then after you've submitted, go ahead and take a look at my screen and notice that these responses are all coming in and the teacher's able to see in real time what the students are answering. And so this is giving me a quick overview, and I can kind of gauge the temperature of my class with this. And I can also share these results by clicking on this share button right here. So when I push this out, it's going to push out the results of the pie chart to all of the students. So everybody can see it up close. And then when I click unshare, it comes back. Now I want to point out to you, so right now here on my teacher screen, now the students wouldn't be seeing this screen because if you look over at your teacher view, a student view, you can't see everybody's names, but you can see it on mine. If I were projecting this screen for some reason and sharing it with my students, I would probably come down to that hide student names before they answered. So it just kind of puts stars there and you don't know who's who. Again, it kind of just promotes that active engagement and helps everybody have a voice and not make it too daunting for students. Okay, any questions so far, real quick, before we move on? Okay. So this next feature isn't doing very much. There it comes. So this is a Google slideshow and it's built into the Nearpod platform. So what you do is you build a Google slide deck, like a slideshow, but then you add it as web content so that it's actually the Google slide deck. And the benefit to using Google Slides, if I create this in Google Slides, so I'm going to show you right here, you'll see down here, it's like a Google slideshow, but it's embedded into my Nearpod. And the benefit of that is, let's say I'm doing this and I'm like, oh, I made a typo. Well, I just go into my Google Slides and I change it up in my Google Slides, and it will automatically update the slide in my Nearpod. So that's super handy. You don't have to go back and redo everything. Same thing goes if you decide, oh, I need to add an extra slide in there. It will automatically update without breaking any of the links or making you start over at square one. So this basically here is a Nearpod overview, and I'm going to point out to you that even though that we're in a live session, you as a student are able to scroll through this. So this is student controlled. And you'll notice that you can scroll through these slides as I do as well. So I like to tell this to my students because they're used to me controlling their screen in Nearpod. So I might go to this slide here or this slide, and they're going to say, I don't see that slide. It's because they actually navigate through this piece of it themselves. So let's go ahead and go through this and see what we have. So Nearpod is basically, it's a presentation tool, and you can use it to make your lessons more engaging and more interactive for your kids. So in Nearpod, there are over 8,500 standards aligned lessons and over 1,000 interactive videos that you can pull in. Those lessons are easily downloaded to your own personal Nearpod library. And because, your students and their instructional needs vary so much, you can go in and easily personalize and customize these lessons based on the learning needs of what your students need in your classroom. So if you find a lesson that you really like, you copy it over to your library, and then you can go in and take things out, put things in, add supports in there that specifically meet your students' needs. I also encourage you that if you have your own resources like a Google slide deck or a PowerPoint, PDFs, Word docs, Google Docs, keep them handy because you can take those documents and upload them right into a Nearpod. And then you can create interactive lessons and videos using some rich media content that goes around the things that you've already created. So things like virtual field trips and 3D models. And then you can add interactive activities with it as well. And so each of the interactive activities in Nearpod are also going to serve as formative assessments, which means that you're collecting comprehensive student assessments on an ongoing basis. So as opposed to just doing a quiz at the end of the week or the end of the chapter or the end of the unit, you're actually able to see how the student is progressing through the lesson, throughout the lesson, because we can see that data in front of us at all times. And then hopefully this is going to help us alleviate some of those learning gaps. And then finally, because every student is able to join a Nearpod lesson, when that now you're going to be able to enable like 100% student participation because everybody's in there. And then, so I think back to my time when I was a 5th grade teacher and I'd ask questions to the class, and, like 5 hands go up. It's always the same 5 hands. And maybe I can call on 1 or 2 of them. But what this does is I can't hear the other students' voices. And so when you're using Nearpod, every student has that chance to participate. And they can feel comfortable in answering, so that even, our more shy and introverted students are able to participate because those answers that they provide are shared only with their teacher. So in Nearpod, you have a lot of access to content and the activities, and this is the rich media content that I was talking about. So this slide is actually an interactive slide. It's like a hyperdoc. So each of these little thumbnails in here, if I click on them, it's going to take me to information about how to use those things. So I'm not going to click on them now, but you will be getting this and you can access those. And we're going to experience some of these today, but not all of them. Okay, so in Nearpod, students can deliver live or student-paced lessons. So it's your synchronous and your asynchronous teaching. So today I'm facilitating this Nearpod as a live lesson. So what that means for teachers is that as the students enter the code, it takes the student device and it syncs it to my device. So now I'm controlling the pace of the lesson and when I want the students to receive those specific slides. So again, this can be done in face-to-face settings or done through video conferencing like we're doing right now here today in Zoom. You can also, teachers can launch a student-paced lesson, and these are really beneficial in several scenarios. So one, think of if a student is absent, the teacher can still launch a student-paced lesson, put the code to it in the Google Classroom or email it out, however you're communicating with your students. And then the students can go through that same Nearpod at their own pace. So now they can catch up on the content, and the teacher still gets that same formative assessment activities and can receive that data. So the student-paced is really beneficial. Another way that a student-paced lesson might be useful is for independent work, or it could be used for like small group works to differentiate instruction, or different learning centers, that type of thing. So a lot of different ways that you could use those self-paced. Now this feature is called front of class, and this is new for Nearpod. And so this only works with the Nearpod videos. It doesn't work with the Nearpod lessons, only the videos. And what it does is it allows the teacher to use Nearpod even if the students don't have their own devices in front of them. So that's not really pertinent to us right now, but I just wanted you to see that that's what that front of the class thing is. Okay, so you can share lessons with your students via a code, either if it's either a live lesson or self-paced, like I just talked about, and kids join with a code like you did, and then they enter their name. So pretty straightforward. And then also the beauty of Nearpod is that you can access student data and review work in real time. There's post-session reports. We're going to cover all that part of it in our Nearpod session 2. So that will be the next time. Okay. So I'm going to put this in. Oh. Okay. Now this right here is a video. Now, when we do videos for the class, hang on one second, I'm trying to find a thing right here. Okay. So Nearpod has this great new feature, and it's an interactive video. So some of you have probably tried on Edpuzzle, and Edpuzzle is where you can take like a YouTube video or even one of your own recorded videos, and you can put stopping points in it and check for understanding along the way. Kind of holds kids accountable, and also gives them a chance to check for their own understanding. So one thing that I want you to see here is that your screen, on your student screen, it probably hasn't changed yet, because on my teacher screen, it's asking me to do something. And so if you are, let me see, so it's asking me, do I want to put this on all devices, which would mean that all of you can watch it on your iPad, or if I want to just show it on mine only. Now, if I'm in front of a class and I'm doing like a hybrid model or something, I might choose just to do it on my device and project it, or I would do it on my device as a screen share because I'm in a Zoom with kids. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to push it onto all devices for you guys. Excuse me. And so what this will do is, once I hit play on here, well, you can hit play on your own as well, but see where these blue dots are down here? These are where there's questions going to be asked of the student. And so this is 1:53, this video, but I'm going to go ahead and start it. And whether or not you start your video, you can still watch mine. And when it gets to the question, I want you to look up at my screen because I want you to see what it does. So for right now, I want you guys just all look at my screen and let's see what happens here.
Introducing Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including.
Okay, so I hope everyone's looking at my screen, the teacher screen. So this is going to tell me ask me if I want to start this activity. So what it's going to do is wherever the kids are, they might have just pushed play on this video. It's going to pause it wherever they are, and it's going to start this activity. And so you want to make sure that kids have had that content before you start the activity, but it also keeps kids, you want to keep them on pace and everything to make sure they start it when they're supposed to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Activity, and I want you to see what happens to your student screen. So your student screen should look something like this. It's an open-ended question. And so what I want you to do is go ahead and type an answer there. How might a virtual reality experience, simulation, or gamified quiz benefit your students? And then hit submit at the bottom. And then you can look up at my screen to see, and I'll hide student names this time. And then just like with the poll that I did, I can click on one of these, share with class, and that will push that out so that everybody can see that student's response. Right there, that's what that looks like. And then I can unshare with it as well. You can also see up here your participation rate. So that's really important because you want to get 100% participation before you move on. But I am going to move on and start the video again. So you just click play when you're ready to go back.
Including polls, open-ended questions, draw-its, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive.
Okay, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and apply it to all activities in this video. I'm going to send this activity over to you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and continue on.
Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a minute and answer that. And notice it automatically pushed out because I clicked that to allow that to happen in that last prompt that it gave me. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and hit play and get
Front
through
of
this
class
real
mode,
quick.
you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports to inform the next day's instruction. You'll wonder how you taught without it. Learn more and get started for free at nearpod.com.
Okay, so that was the interactive video. So Nearpod it's an ecosystem. And so what I want you to think about are some of the tools that you access for distance learning right now. And I am going to use what's called the collaborative board here. And so what this does, I'm going to show you first here on my teacher side. This is sort of like a Padlet if you've ever used Padlet, but it's a place where students will just post their thoughts. They can add images to this as well. And my teacher prompt is going to tell me that would I like to approve student comments before they're posted. Now this is completely up to the teacher. It depends on your students. It depends on the size of the group you're working with, but I would caution on the side of saying yes. That way you will see everything and you approve it before it goes out to that live board. So for you guys, I'm going to go ahead and just hit no because I'm going to trust you here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit no on this. And I'm going to jump over to my student view because what I want to show you here is, here's the question. What are some digital tools or resources you utilize with your students? So you would come down here and this is where you might type something that you use. You can also come here and you can add an image as well. If you click on the image, and it will give you a chance to image search through Google. Now it is a safe search. However, what I want to warn you about is that that's just a filter. It is not going to stop bad things from coming through. So that's why you want to make sure you approve posts. And I'm going to go ahead and post this. There we go. Oh, my image didn't come through for some reason, but you get the idea. And so you're seeing this populate. So these are a bunch of digital tools. Yeah, Kahoot. Yeah, we're using a lot of really good engaging tools. Common Lit, Study Sync. I like to see that because that's our core curriculum, Google Slides and Zoom. Excellent. And on the teacher side, I just have to refresh this, I think, and it should. I'm probably going to mess everything up at once here. Whoop. See, there we go. So I can see this. Now, what's really nice is all of this data that I'm collecting right here, I'm going to be able to go back and look at reports on this. So I can see this at a later time as well, which is pretty nifty. Okay, moving on here. Okay, so we are going to take a peek. We're going to explore a lesson. And so I want you to think about this lesson and these activities that are engaging students in the learning. So this is like a mini lesson of what a teacher might do. So here we go. So we are going on a field trip. So fasten your seatbelts. We're going to go to a Polynesian beach, which sounds lovely right now. And I want you to think about how you feel as you look around. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is a virtual reality slide. And so Nearpod has a ton of virtual reality experiences, virtual field trips, 3D simulations that you just embed right from their library. And so what you do is you just click on here, you want to show the students, and you just start turning around, and you can go from right to left. You can look up and you can look down. And it's just kind of a neat way to explore what this island looks like. And you can zoom in a little bit and stuff like that. So go ahead and take a minute on your student slide and play around with that. I'll give you about 30 seconds to kind of explore that. So this is a great way to start off a lesson because it's engaging right off the bat. Students are like, oh, this is so cool. And depending on what subject you teach and or what grade level you teach, you can just search the library. There's so many things in there. Okay, so I am going to head over here to an activity here. Now, this is a really fun activity that you can embed in your Nearpods, and it's called the Draw It activity. And so you'll see on the teacher screen, you're going to see that it's waiting for me to do something. I have to start this activity for students. And the reason for this is because I added a timer to this. Now, if I didn't add a timer, it would just pop up and the students, you would be able to go ahead and start your drawing. But I added a 2-minute timer up here. And you can add timers to your lessons or your activities or not. It's totally up to you, but sometimes they're super handy. I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Activity. Okay, and you are going to be over on your student side here, and I want to navigate through this with you just a little bit here. Okay, so you're going to want to show your students how to navigate through these slides as well, and then they'll get the hang of it. But at the very top, you're going to see this question right here. So basically, we're going to draw the emotions that we feel when we're on this Polynesian beach that we just visited. Up here on the left, you're going to see this is a media reference here. If you click on it, it's actually going to take us back to that virtual reality field trip. So you can go around and check it out again if you want. Now I just come up here. I'm just going to close this with my X here because it opened it in a new window for me. Excuse me. Now you'll see that the top of this picture is kind of cut off because this big white piece, this big piece of text and stuff is here. I'm going to click up here. See this little caret right here? I click here, it's going to make it go up and down. So I can reveal the picture right there. Here's my timer going up here. And the other thing is showing the students how to use some of these draw tools down here. So this is my pen and I can choose a different color. All right. And I can do whatever I want to draw on here, come back down. There's a highlighter. There's also a text box. And so again, you can do your text in here. I can move this and I can type in here. I can resize it and place it wherever I want that to go. And there's an eraser. I can also add an image here if I want as well. So go ahead and take another couple seconds and play with your pictures. And I'm going to come over here and see what we have. Okay, so now you can see on this teacher view, the ones that have been submitted and the ones that are in progress. And so if you think about this, think about how you might use something like this. So you could even do something like math problems on this. You could use this as like a digital whiteboard, or kids could just draw on it and do calculations. Or you could even put an image behind it as a background. You could put like a piece of graph paper there so students could graph results of something. If you teach science, you could upload a picture of a cell, an image of a cell, and have students label it. If you're an English teacher, you might upload a reading passage and then students could go in and they can highlight and annotate text. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this feature. This is the Draw It feature. Okay, so this is another new addition to Nearpod, and this is how you can add audio to slides. So I'm going to go ahead and do all devices right here. And basically what this is just a single slide, and it has information on it. But down here, you'll see this play thing. I click here and emotion. The teacher just wants
Emotion.
to say that word for the student so they know how to pronounce it and what it sounds like. And so this is a huge support accommodation that benefits students, especially those that are working remotely and they don't have the teacher there to help them. So the teacher can go into any slide or activity in Nearpod and they can record their voice. So you could read the slide, you could provide directions or clarification on the directions, whatever it is that you want to do. And the students can play the audio. So a really nice support for students. Now this slide right here, this is another one. It's just a plain title slide. And there's no bells or whistles to it, but that's okay because when you're designing your lessons, you know, we want them to be balanced. You should have content and some rich media content, and then some interactive activities as formative assessments that are built in. But this slide doesn't do anything special, but it does lead us into a model, a 3D model of the endocrine system. So here we're going to come over here and you will see that you can come in and manipulate this 3D image. You can zoom in as far as you want to zoom in and zoom back out and move it around. What's really nice for this too that you're going to want to point out to students is down in the corner is a question mark. When you click on that question mark, it shows students how to maneuver the image, how to manipulate it, which is super handy, I think, for them. So go ahead and take a minute and just kind of explore that. That's your student view right there. And don't forget, if you want to take notes, you've got your little notes guy over here as well. Okay, so that's kind of fun. Now we're going to go over here. Now this content, this is called, this is a Nearpod slideshow. So this was not created in Google Slides. This was created directly in Nearpod. And this also is student controlled. And so you can scroll up and down this way, or you can also just click through the thumbnails. But again, you're going to want to tell your students that they're controlling that because they might be waiting for you to do that for them. So, you know, when you provide this type of a slideshow, it's a good way that you can share like large amounts of content, chunking it out so students can scroll through it on their own and take their own time. So I think about how like an EL teacher might be able to use something like this. So you could put in like your academic vocabulary, like your tier 2, tier 3 words, and put the words there in English, and then maybe one in Spanish for an example, and then put on the next slide the part of speech, the pronunciation, maybe an image to illustrate what it means. And then on another slide could be how to use it in a sentence. So you can structure things like that. And then for math teachers, you know, you could use it to put like the steps of solving a math problem. So I think about the order of operations, that please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And each slide could be a step into how to solve a problem like that. So just kind of some different ways that you might be able to use this feature in the Nearpod. Okay, now this one's really fun. This takes us to matching pairs. And in matching pairs, you can add up to 12 pairs per activity. And you as the teacher, you can have it match text to text, text to images, or image to image. And so I'm going to head over to my student view and show you how to use this. So I'm going to come over to my student view here. All right. And so again, I'm connecting, it says right up here at the top, connect the emotion with some of its physical responses. And basically they're saying, I'm going to give you 45 seconds. There's no timer on this one, and again, I'm going to use this caret to make that overhang go away. Okay. And so then I can just click on here and I can see sadness, sadness. And when it turns green, then it's a match. If it's not a match, it turns red. And so the student has a chance to continue to do the matches. Now go ahead and finish that up. And if you come over to my teacher view, you can see it start to populate here. Now, what I get to see here as the teacher is I get to see, 4 matches out of 4, but took 4 tries. 2 out of 4 took 2 tries. So this is kind of neat that you can go in here and see what every student did, how many tries it took, and use that as a formative assessment. And it's also just a really good way for students to do a quick self-check themselves. You know, in this distance learning environment, we are trying to encourage kids to, you know, use specific checkpoints along the way to kind of drive their own learning and know when they need support. So that is the matching pairs. Our next piece of our lesson is we are going to do an open-ended question. So I'm going to come to the student view first. All right. Okay. And show you what this looks like on the student view. So first up here, I have my question. There are 3,000 words in the English language. How many words do you think most people use on a regular basis? And so that's the question up there. And then over here, there's a link. This is a media reference. And so I'm going to click on this. And what this does is this is the source that the teacher wants me to read. So I'm going to go through this article and I'm going to be looking for the answer that she's asking me. And I'm going to go ahead and close. It's an extra window up here. I'm going to close that. But you can, as a teacher, you can add a link to a website here, a PDF right here. It could be just an image, or it could even be a video. And then this question you pose links to whatever this media source is. Now there's also, so I can type my answer in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and this is my answer. You'll notice down here, there's also an audio option right here, which is fantastic. And so I can go ahead and click on this and I can record my response instead. So imagine how helpful that is for some of our populations. And then you just go ahead and you hit submit. So go ahead and take a moment and answer those. Oh, and look at that. We've got all these answers here already. And so here we go. And if I think that I want to share this out, of course, I can push these out for everybody to look at and we can talk about. And this also shows me my participation rate. So this is great because when you're in, your face-to-face classroom and, there might be 2 kids participating. It's hard to tell sometimes, or you do know there's only a couple kids participating. This, you can wait. You could, if I'm in a Zoom, I might want to do a private chat with one of these students right now and say, hey, I really want you to participate in here. Remember, nobody sees your answers but me. And you can really get that participation up, especially right now, because we're all struggling with keeping students engaged. So the nice thing is so here's my answers here. Now, if I had somebody do a recorded one right here, okay, so this is the one that I did. See this play button right here? This shows me that there's an audio recording that goes with this one. And there's a chance that I didn't type anything here at all because I'm just going to do it in audio. So that shows up in this column over here. What's really nice as well is when you go back and view your reports and look at all the data that you have, it saves the audio and any written text. So that's super handy as well. Okay, so our next part, oh, in case you were curious, I saw a lot of you had this right. The answer is 20. So if we can't name our emotions, we can't manage them. So that's about 20 is what it is. Okay, the next feature we got right here is a quiz. And in Nearpod, teachers can add quizzes. And in your quizzes, you can add up to 50 questions. So for a Nearpod quiz, they are multiple choice. And so you can have one correct answer, or you can have multiple correct answers. And if you're going to have more than one correct answer for your questions, I suggest that you include something along the lines of that in your directions for students. Please select all that apply, because there's no partial credit or anything. It'll just mark it wrong. So let's see. I am going to pop over. I see that data is populating here, which is fantastic. Go ahead and take the quiz, because I want to show you how you can use this data. Okay, so here's something that you can do. If you look across at each student, I'm going to go ahead and show names really quick. So we can look across at each student right here, and I can see the questions, and I can see which ones they got correct. There we go. Okay. So here we go. These are the scores right here. I can also go down like vertically. If I click on that number 1 question right here, I click on this, then I can look and see what the question is. And then if I click on my student, it's going to tell me how they answered each question as well. So this is great for real time. I mean, this is happening right in front of you. You can look and see if there's a question that most of the students are getting wrong. Click on it to see, okay, which one is it? And this is the one that's the right answer, but they're not answering it correctly. How can I help, how can I help clear up any misconceptions they have, or reteach at this moment if I need to? I can also share these results out. Now you'll notice what this does on the student end is it shows me my score. It doesn't show anybody else's score. It shows me what I got, and then it shows me my answers. I didn't answer it, so it's not going to be very good for me. And it will show me the correct answers as well. So that's really nice for students to be able to look at that. So if you push that out for them, then they get to analyze their own data, and then I can go ahead and just hit unshare right there. Okay. There's so much stuff in Nearpod. Okay. All right. So that was kind of like a little mini lesson type thing that somebody might do in Nearpod to create a lesson for students. All right. So now what I want you to think about is, how do you think that Nearpod can make a significant impact on your classroom? So think about that. You might have used Nearpod before and you see some of the impact, or maybe you haven't, or you see some new tools. So I'm going to go over to this next slide right here. And this is a collaborate board. I'm going to go ahead. I don't need to approve you guys. All right. And so what I'd like you to do is go ahead and share your thoughts. How do you think Nearpod can make a significant impact in your classroom? Okay, so go ahead and share a few ideas there. Let's see. Drives discussion, absolutely. More engagement, absolutely. I love that. Use it as an exit ticket. Great idea. Participation. So what really excites me about all this is that you guys are really seeing that engaging and that participation part, and it gives you that assessment piece, because that's what we're struggling so much with, hybrid and distance learning, is just keeping those kids engaged and knowing where they are and getting that formative assessment done to guide our instruction. So fantastic. Thank you guys. Really good ideas there. Yeah, okay. All righty. So on we go. Teachers notice immediate changes in their classroom when they teach with Nearpod. And there's going to be a couple examples here that I just want to share with you. And I want you to think about these. And if you think you could see this happening with your students. So it helps us transition from front row seats for a few and then a front row seat for all. I mean, teaching, I was a classroom teacher, and then I was a computer lab teacher for many years, and I work with the paras in our elementary schools. And one of the things we always struggle with is, oh my gosh, the kids are trying to look over everything and see the screen. But when they have, like in the lab, they have those devices right in front of them, those paras are able to push those images directly right out, like I'm doing with you guys right now. And then everyone has that front row seat. Same thing in your traditional classrooms as well. But it works obviously in remote learning beautifully. It helps us transition from just a few kids participating to everybody. We already talked about that part of it. Transitioning from the front of the room to all parts of the room or no room at all. They can connect anywhere that they have a device and internet. Nearpod helps us transition from infrequent summative assessment to formative assessment that's informing our instruction. That's the key, is getting that, informing our instruction on the fly sometimes with Nearpod. And we transition from engagement to academic engagement. And then also for teachers, juggling 10 million tabs and materials to support differentiation. You have this differentiated learning experiences integrated into one platform. So that's some of the power of Nearpod. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to open a second browser, because we're going to have you log into Nearpod. Now, if you are on a second device, what you can do with that is you can just go to a new window, and I want you guys to go to nearpod.com. So if you have a screen like I have right now, then we're going to come up to a new tab and you're going to type nearpod.com. All right. And you might be logged in already. If you logged in, you'll come right to your library. If not, then I don't want to log out because it's going to mess everything up. Then you're going to have to log in with your Google credentials here. So let's go right here. So let's get you guys a chance to get into another browser. Go to nearpod.com. You're going to want to use this login with Google login right here. Okay, and then I'm going to wait. And Carrie, will you let me know if you guys are having any issues? Type in the chat for us and let me know when we're ready to go, maybe. Okay, so I'm hoping that most of you got in there. and you got into Nearpod. And what I'm going to do is take you on a little tour here by showing you on my screen. I'm going to come over to my Nearpod right here. So everyone's Nearpod is going to look a little bit different, but there are definitely some similarities. Up here in the top left where it says Nearpod, this is how you always get back to this home page. So this is your My Library, but it's also called the home page. But if you ever end up going somewhere else and you find yourself somewhere and you're like, oh, how did I get there? Always come back up to Nearpod right here and it'll bring you right back to your library. Couple things I want to show you here. Right up here is the profile. Now, if you guys can't get in right now, I would just say, watch what we're doing here. You can come back and watch this later and go through it. Sometimes it's easier to sit back and kind of watch the navigation. So completely up to you, wherever your comfort level is fine with me. But this is your profile. And this is where you can come in and do some of those lesson settings. I am not going to go over this in detail right now. I just want to briefly show you that you can do things in here, like there's an immersive reader. That's amazing because it will read things to kids and you can change text for kids. We'll look at this a little bit closer in our next session because it's super powerful. But here's the student notes. If I want my students to be able to take notes during the presentation, I'll turn it on. For my little kids, I'd probably turn it off. But there's a whole bunch of different settings in here that we will go over probably in our next session, but not yet today. This quick launch, this allows me to take any one of these activities right here, or even just a timer, and do a quick lesson. So let's say we just watched a video and I'm like, you know what? I want to hear what my kids think about that. I can open a quick collaborative board on the fly. Kids just type in a code and there's the collaborative board. It doesn't have to be this giant Nearpod lesson. So that's the quick launch feature right there. Create, this is where I can come and create a lesson, add my videos, Google Slides right there. You also have that same option over here under my lessons. One thing I want to show you that's really great and handy is this add a folder option here. So you see that I have these different folders here and some of them are color coded. You can tell that there's a whole bunch of Nearpods down here that I have not filed away and organized. And you can imagine it can be a huge list after a while. So if you don't have a lot in your library yet, or even if you do, I would start by creating a folder. And so maybe this will just be a demo folder. And I'm going to create this. Now, one thing I can do when I click on this demo right here, I can turn it into a color here, which is super helpful for me too. Okay, so now I have a folder for some certain lessons. Again, I go back to this Nearpod up here to get to my home screen, and you'll see here's my folder. There's nothing in it, but I can move things to it and move things in. Like I can come here and I can add this to a folder. And then I can go ahead and choose the folder I want it to go to and add it there. Okay, so when I come back up to my Nearpod, the lovely thing is it's not down here anymore, and it is here where it's supposed to be. So folder is really nice to manage your stuff. Now over here on this left side, yours might look a little bit different than mine. It should look very similar, but I just want to show you a couple things. So we're in the My Library, the homepage. This is where you would go for reports. Down here we have some shared libraries. And what I really want you to see down here too is this is the Nearpod library. This is where all of the lessons live that we can search for things. Our district has also purchased digital citizenship and literacy modules, as well as college and career exploration. So we have access to these as well. But that is how you can navigate that sidebar right there. So I'm going to come back here, make sure I'm on track. And I'm going to show you how to search for lessons. So again, there's over 8,500 lessons and over 1,000 interactive videos. So basically you go to the Nearpod library and you can click search for lessons or videos. And let me see what this guy's going to be, because I want to show you a live session as well. Okay, well, okay, there we go. And so the lessons are all standards aligned, and they have them for every grade level and subject. It's amazing. So what I'm going to show you here is model this for you. I'm going to come to here. I'm going to go to the Nearpod library. And let's say I want to look for a lesson. And again, I can go by just Common Core standards here. I can select a subject, my grade level. I can even pull up strands. So look at this. I can choose a specific strand that I'm looking for and look at these different lessons that go with that. Now, when I find a lesson that I might be interested in, then I might just come over here. Oh my God, I'm gonna do this one right here. I hover over it and I'm gonna preview that lesson. So here I am in preview mode. And it's going to show this is the standard that it's aligned to. And then I'm going to be able to navigate through this to see if it's something I want to use. I'm shopping right now. So I'm going to go preview. I can look at this. There's a poll in here. I'm going to want to see what the poll is asking. And then I'm going to come through. Oh, look at that. It's an activity where they're going to circle nouns. So I can go through and preview this to see if I'm interested in it. Now, one thing I want you to remember is if I decide I want to save this, I am going to be making a copy for my library, and then I have full editing rights. The only thing that I can't change is the copyrighted material on some of the slides, but I can delete slides, I can add slides, add my own content. So let's say I'm like, yeah, I like this. I just click add to my library. And then I think I'm going to show it in my library just to jump over there and show you what it looks like when it gets to my library. Okay, so now this is in my library now. I think I want to edit this. I'm going to go ahead and click on edit. It's going to say, do I want to duplicate the lesson? I do, because I don't need to change the original. I'm going to make a copy first. It's not going to change the original like in that Nearpod library. But now in my library, I'm going to have the original version and then my updated version. In case I don't like my updated one, I can go back. So let's just say here, we're going to go through this in more detail in our next session, but let's say I don't want this poll here. I can click on it. I can delete that slide. I can come in here and add my own slides and bring my own material in, and then I can save and exit. So when you go back into your Nearpod library, after you've saved something, you're going to see right here, this first one right here, put a cap on it, Nearpod team. This is the original one right here. The one here with my name on it, right below my arrow, that's the one that I edited. And so then if I want to, I can take this and I can move this over to the folder that I want it to go to, like I showed you before. And now it's over there. And now I can use it to assign to students and stuff. So, gosh, so much stuff. I want to give you guys a chance to explore, but I need to show you a couple things first and see if we are going to be able to get to that. So I'm going to get back to my slide deck and show you, remind you that you can do those synchronous where the kids are doing it live with you, or asynchronous where it's student paced. We have those options. So when I am in my library, I'm just going to show you this here. I'm back in my library and I'm ready to launch this with my students. I just hover over the lesson and I can do a live participation. If I click on that, it's going to generate that code that I give to my students right here. So the students would go to their app on their iPad, or they go to nearpod.com, put this in just like you guys did, and then they'd be in that lesson. The other option I have is if I decide I want to do the self-student paced one, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to give me a code and I give that to my students. I want you to notice down here, there's a couple ways you can get the code to students. One is a Google Classroom integration. And so we'll talk about how that works a little bit later, not today, but in one of our next sessions. You can also just get a link to it or email it to the students as well. So that is how you start a lesson. I want to see here if there's anything. I showed you this, you hover over it. There's just the codes, you're going to share the codes. And then you can link to it different ways right here. You can email it to them, link it. Okay. The other thing that you can do, and I was just helping a teacher with this earlier today, is that if I want to share this lesson with somebody, like a fellow teacher, I can just come up to these dots and I can do this share with teachers. Now, usually what I do is I send the editable link. So I send them this link because then what they're going to be able to do is put it into their library and then they can do with it whatever they want to do. It's not going to impact any of the sessions I might have running with my kids. It's not going to have any impact at all, but it is going to allow them to save it to their library, make that copy, and play around with it if they want to. So that's a really handy thing to know how to do, especially these days with all the collaboration that we are doing to kind of take the load off of everyone. So students join, we've done that before, so I'm going to go through that. All right, and let's do this. This is so fun. I'm just going to check it right now to see how you guys, what you've learned. And this is called Time to Climb. And as I'm going to come over to the student view in a second. So as the teacher, I have already put questions in there. Okay, I can choose to randomize the answers if I want. And then I can also select a theme. There's space, Himalaya, underwater. I'm going to go and do underwater. And then turn the sound on for everyone. And then I'm going to hit continue. Okay. Now, on the student side, here's what you guys need to do. I want you to choose your character. And then you're going to hit start. And I'm waiting for players. I have 5 connected. So on my teacher view, I can see all you guys joining in. You look all cute, lots of little penguins there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to hit start and I want you guys to see what happens here. So the first question, where can you find comprehensive student data after each lesson? So Time to Climb is a really fun way to assess students again, and it's in that gamified way, which, you know, we know love to play games, and so it's just kind of another fun tool you can embed to add that engagement in your Nearpod. Which feature provides interactive tools to support students' reading and comprehension? That's the feature that we didn't have enabled. I'm going to show you next time. That's kind of unfair. Okay, so here we go. These are my leaders. And so kind of another fun way just to assess what students are learning. And they can assess themselves as well and play at the same time. So I want us just to kind of put this all together. Wow, it was a lot of stuff. I don't like these sessions where I'm just talking, but there's so much to share up front with you guys. And I don't know, there's not really a lot of time for you to explore the library right now, but I am going to give you a little bit of time to do that. So go ahead and play around and search for a few things in the library that you might like. I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes for that. It's not long, but go ahead and take 5 minutes and we will check back and wrap this up. So have fun. So as you guys are exploring, I do have our last slide up here, which is a collaborate slide. So this is just sort of for questions and answers. If you have any questions that you have, go ahead and post them up. It could be while you're exploring or something that came up earlier. I did have a chance to check the chat, and I noticed something about Flipgrid. So Flipgrid is integrated in Nearpod, and it's a way where students can create little videos, and you can create videos. I was trying it earlier, but the Flipgrid site was down. And so I didn't include it in this presentation, but we will certainly look at it when we're creating lessons next time we meet. It's a really powerful tool as well. So feel free to add to this collaborate board as you are going through and doing a little bit of exploring. remember as well, as you're finding some lessons that you might like to at least look more closely at and possibly modify or add some of your own materials to, you can save those to your library and go back later. And just thinking about like our core curriculum, you can take things from the core curriculum and drop it into Nearpod and then make an interactive activity for students with that. So Kimberly asked how long it takes to create a Nearpod from scratch. It's really, if you're creating one from scratch now, Nearpod last year integrated with Google Slides. And so now when you create your Nearpods, it's so amazing. I love it. You actually open your Google Slides like normal, and you can start just creating a slideshow. And then you go to the add-on, which we'll do all this next time we meet. And it'll say open a Nearpod. And when you open those Google Slides in Nearpod, now you have the opportunity to add any of those engaging activities that you want and kind of sprinkle them throughout your Google Slides, and it saves it as a Nearpod. It's absolutely amazing. So it used to take me longer to create those Nearpods just because I couldn't manipulate the text the way that I wanted it to. It was kind of limited if you're starting with just like the slides. But if you do it in Google Slides, and you can create it however you want it to look and then just convert it into a Nearpod. So pretty cool. Okay, guys, I am going to stop sharing my screen. So that was the only question I got there. You can still add, but I'm gonna stop sharing and see all these beautiful faces. You're still here. So that was quite the run through. And again, I don't like having to do all the talking and stuff, but there was just so much to share with you guys up front. Next time we dive in and you get to really get in there as a teacher and work on the lessons and create things that you can share with your students. So anything for the good of the order before we leave? Okay, well, thanks you guys, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah.